Hello everyone, how are you? Hope you've had a great week. Before I go into my review this week, I just wanted to take a moment to say thank you to everyone who watches these videos. I started this about 20 something weeks ago on a hunch and on an idea that I had to make myself feel more comfortable in front of the camera, because I'm very comfortable. I'm not, as most of you can tell, or if you can tell, I'm not necessarily a shy person. I do have some introvert tendencies, but I'm not a shy person. In face to face, I'm very, very good with people, so I quite gel with people. But I used to have a hang up about how I looked on video. So that's one of the reasons why I started this, that I needed to make myself more comfortable in front of the camera and talking to people on video. And it's been great. I actually love it. I love doing it now. And thank you so much for all of the support. Thank you so much. I'm so grateful. So thank you. I thought I'd take that out of the way. Also wanted to say, I hope you're well. How are you preparing for Christmas? I'm one of those people who never used to talk about Christmas before December, but I'm not going to be a Grinch this year. It's 2020. We all deserve all the joy that we can have. And, the spirit of Christmas is one of joy, giving, love, peace. So yes, I am looking forward to Christmas. So and yeah, I've been doing this. If you're watching this on my Instagram page, I have been doing some bookish gift ideas, so please do check it out on the highlights on my page. They're quite interesting. I've actually enjoyed doing those as well. Without me talking too much, I'm going to go into my book review of this week. So for a couple of you who follow me on my social media channels, you can see that I have been doing a series of my favorite books on change, and this is my third in the series. It's called Switch: How to Change Things When Change is Hard by Chip and Dan Heath. It's one of my best books on change. The first time I read this book, it was a book that I took out of my local library. And there are quite a number of books that I took out of my local library, and I was like, okay, you know what, I'll borrow it from the library so I don't have to buy it. And then I read it and I'm like, nope, this is one I have to buy. There are some that I didn't buy, but there are some that I had to say, this has to be my library, and this is one of those. As I said, I work in the change sector, so to speak, but I also don't view change from just a corporate perspective or from a professional perspective. I also am really intrigued with change. There's been a lot of change in my life, and as I always say, and I've said in my other videos, change is a constant. We're always going to deal with change in various aspects of our life. So, like as usual, I'm going to read a portion of the book, and I'm reading from page 74 from the chapter called Direct the Rider and Point to the Destination. So I'll read a bit of it and then I'll give you my thoughts on the excerpt that I read. Well, how do you show a room full of first graders where they're headed and why going there is worth the effort in terms they can understand? Well, here's a way not to do that from another Teach for America teacher who reported our goals for the year as follows. With respect to reading for the school year, I administer 3 diagnostics: CWT, Assessment of Comprehension, and the Monster Test. Using the CWT, I identified my class's average as grade level 1.5 in September. My goal is to increase my students' identification so as to ensure a class average of 3.0. Upon analyzing the results of the Assessment of Comprehension, I identified my class's average as a 41% in September. My goal is to increase my students' comprehension so as to ensure a class average of 80%. Using the Monster Test, I identified my class's average score as semi-phonetic. My goal is to increase my students' phonics and spelling skills to transitional. That ambitious and specific set of goals was probably quite useful to the teacher in her planning, but it obviously won't be useful in lighting a fire in the hearts of first graders. Crystal Jones, in contrast, knew that if she wanted to motivate the kids, she had to speak their language. At the beginning of the school year, she announced a goal for her class that she knew would captivate every student. By the end of the school year, you are going to be third graders. Not literally, of course, but in the sense that it will be at least third grade skill levels. The goal was tailor-made for the first grade psyche. First graders know very well what third graders look like. They are bigger, smarter, and cooler. You know the feeling you get when you're admiring the grace and the power of an Olympic athlete? That's the feeling first graders get about third graders. Jones chose the goal carefully. She knew exactly what the third grade standards in Georgia required, and she knew where her kids were starting. She genuinely thought she could close the gap. One of her first efforts was to cultivate a culture of learning in her classroom, calling her students scholars and asking them to address one another that way. When people visited her classroom, she introduced her class as a group of scholars and asked them to define the term for the guest. They would shout, "A scholar is someone who lives to learn and is good at it." The scholars were encouraged to go home and share what they learned with their families. One day, a scholar was called out of the classroom for administrative reasons, and some of the others in the room started groaning. In most classrooms, it would have been a groan of jealousy. "Get me out of here too." Jones realized to her surprise that it was a groan of pity. That kid is going to miss some scholar work. At that moment, Jones said, "I knew I had them." By springtime, the kids' test scores had reached second grade level. So Jones threw a graduation ceremony right before spring break. For the rest of the year, the kids took great pleasure in referring to themselves as second graders. And by the end of the year, over 90% of the kids were reading at above a third grade level. These were some of the same kids who 9 months earlier didn't know the alphabet. That was an intriguing story. And I actually love Jones. I love Crystal Jones already because she's done something that a lot of people find very difficult to do. And that is to be able to have a goal and make that goal relatable to the people that she's trying to bring along on that journey, on that change journey. And that is that is what I am trying to talk about today in my review. She had a goal, and that's what she wanted. She wanted to increase the level of her students' reading. She wanted them to move from the level they were, which is where some of them couldn't even recognize the alphabet, to them reading at third grade level for first graders. And we saw the goal that the other teacher set, which is quite a good goal as well, but it wasn't something that would have been relatable to the people she was taking along on her journey. Yes, it would have been good for the examining authority, for the head teacher or whoever else. But what Crystal Jones did very well was able to take that goal. I'm sure she also had a similar thing written in her book or written in her assessment, but she took it to what her first graders could relate to. So do you have a change that you're trying to endanger in your, not engender, a change you're trying to influence or bring into a set of people or people around you? You need to make it relatable. You need to make it something that they can actually aspire to and they can actually understand. That's why a lot of times, even, and it's something I come across even in my course of work, where people are trying to make a change, but a lot of people don't understand it because it's too abstract, it's too technical. There is a saying, I can't remember who said it now, but one of our management gurus says, if you have a concept or an idea that you can't explain to a 5-year-old, that means you don't understand it yourself. And we know that first graders are 5 to 6 year olds. So that is what Crystal Jones was able to do. She was able to, give them a specific goal. It was specific, but she was also able to get it to be something that they could relate to and make it fun. She made her class fun. She called them scholars. So is there any change that you're trying to make for yourself and for a set of people? Yes, it's good to have those technical, smart, measurable goals. But how do you make it something that lights a fire in you, that brings a passion in you? Last week I spoke about influence, and I think the week before I spoke about I think the book I read last week was That Be Why, and I talk about why do you want to have this change, and now is what do I see myself as when I get this change? So the children started seeing themselves as third graders even though they were in the first grade. So if you want to make a change, for instance, to be I'm trying to think of a practical example that I can think of here. And I know I don't want to use fitness, and that's why I'm really struggling with an example here. But okay, let me use something. I'm someone who eats healthy. You can make it something fun to say vegetables. If for instance, if you want to get your children to eat more vegetables, you can make vegetables something that is fun. I know, for instance, my daughter never used to really like vegetables. There was even a time she'd give me this really weird thing of, "Mommy, I'm allergic to carrots," or something really weird. And I was like, who did the allergy test to let you know that you're allergic to carrots? But then they like ice cream and popsicles and stuff, and so we started making smoothies, and then started putting vegetables in the smoothies as well, and she was able to relate to the vegetables because they were smoothies and they were something that she liked. And now my daughter actually even makes me smoothies sometimes. She's just like, "Mommy, I'm going to make you smoothies," because she's older now. So that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. When you're trying to make a change, you need to make it relatable, you need to make it fun, you need to make it something that people will want to buy into. Because if it's boring, people are going to be like, "Oh my god, vegetables are boring." But if you make it fun, if you make it something that is exciting, people would actually buy into it, and you would buy into it. Human beings naturally like to be entertained. Human beings naturally like something that is fun. So if something is too boring, people switch off. So that's what I wanted to say today. The book is, as I said, Switch by Chip and Dan Heath. They're brothers. How to change things when change is hard. Change is hard. I'm not even going to lie. Change is hard. I do it for a job. It's something that I love, but it is hard. And even every one of us, have to sometimes just dig in, and the easier and the simpler and the fun that we can make it, it makes it easier for us to go along. So that's what I wanted to share in my review today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you're watching this on my YouTube channel, please subscribe. If you're watching this on my other social media channels, please follow, share. I would really appreciate if you could share my content. I used to be very uncomfortable about asking people to share my content because I was like, am I really a content creator? But no, it's not really about the content creator way that we say it, but just if there's anyone you think would actually benefit from this or would actually find value in it, please do share it with them. Thank you very much for watching and all your encouragement. Like I said earlier, I'm really, really grateful. I'm really, really humbled as well. Thank you, and have a lovely, lovely week ahead. Bye-bye.